Yeah. How far? Yeah, it's like Zoom on. I think. Yeah. All right, so 4 o'clock, let's go and get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to EGME 454, Optimization for Engineering Design. So my name is Professor Justin Trance. So I will be your instructor in the course. Okay. So today is the first lecture on this beautiful day. We would never have guessed that a hurricane was here last couple of days. But today my plan was just to kind of just give a brief overview of the course. And so you shouldn't have to take any notes today. It's just, just introducing the course. Just because I think from the title of this course, I think it's maybe not 100% clear what this course is about or what you can expect from the course. And so what I wanted to do today is just to kind of introduce the course, introduce what optimization really means and kind of what we're doing in this course. And then we'll go over the syllabus and the course website. We're not going to go over any actual content today. It's just introductions. Okay. Can everyone on Zoom hear me okay? Yeah, the mic, I see the microphone going, but then I'm not sure.
Professor, are you going to be offering this like kind of like the hybrid class? Like
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question from the class is, am I going to be offering this or giving the lectures hybrid for the entire semester? So yes. And so if you prefer to come in person, you're definitely welcome to. I'll be here every day, unless another hurricane hits, of course. Or you can attend on Zoom if you want. And so the only days that I do require you to be here in person are going to be for the exam. So I have 2 exams planned for the class, and so those are the only 2 days that you have to be here in person. Other than that, you can attend on Zoom. That's totally okay. Okay, so learning objectives. And so I know I see quite a few familiar faces. And so I know quite a few of you had me before. But if you've never had me before, then one thing I always like to start every class with is a list of learning objectives. And so you can almost think of these as kind of like an outline of what we're going to do for the day. And so at the beginning of every lecture, I like to list the learning objectives just to kind of give you an idea and to kind of give you an expectation in terms of what you can expect to learn for that day. Okay, and so we have 3 learning objectives today. And so the first one is to just define what optimization is and to explain why it's useful. Number 2, to describe some applications of optimization, both in engineering and outside of engineering. You'll see that there's actually quite a few outside of engineering as well. And number 3 is to prepare for the semester by understanding the course policies and the syllabus and the website and the expectations and all that administrative stuff. Okay. So what I always recommend to students at the beginning of every lecture is, write down the learning objectives. And so, as you're writing your notes or before you write any notes for the day, write down the learning objectives. And so, it's a good way to kind of organize your notes. And so, just because I know, as you write notes, sometimes you can kind of get disorganized. And so, if you have the learning objectives, it kind of organizes, this day, this is what we've done. Okay. And I write these learning objectives in a very specific way. So if you'll notice here that all the learning objectives here start with the verb. And so the reason for that is that, I write these in such a way where you can almost kind of test yourself to see if you understood the lecture for the day. Okay. So for example, so after today, what you should be able to do is that you should be able to give me a definition for optimization and give me, 2 or 3 sentences in terms of, why it's useful. Okay. And so if you can do that after the lecture today, then that's great. That's one of the important parts of today. But if you find yourself after the lecture and you're looking at that learning objective and you're like, I can't really give a good definition for optimization, maybe that's a good indication that maybe you should go watch the lecture recording, or maybe go look at your notes again, or come talk to me, because that's something that's important. Okay, because as you're learning something new, especially for a topic like this, which I think is actually really challenging, it's always really important to kind of continuously test yourself, continuously assess, how well that you're doing. And so I write these learning objectives in a way to kind of help you. Okay, So here's my contact information, and so there's a little bit of a change actually, and so my office is still in this building. So my old office is CS 526 here. The plan was for me to actually move over across the quad to the engineering building. And when I made these lecture slides about a month ago, that was the plan. So I thought it was going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So for now, my office is still in CS 526. Wrote it in serial killer fonts, just so you always remember, okay? But eventually I am going to move across the quad to engineering. So maybe that's going to happen in like a month or two. So when I do move, I'll send an announcement to let everyone know. But for now, I'm still in CS 526. Okay, so if you come to my office, come up here, don't go to engineering. All right, my email address is there. So my email address is justduran@fullerton.edu. Right, you need to remember. I grew up around here, so I grew up in Cyprus. If you don't know where that is, that's about 10 miles west of here, right down the 91. All of my education has been in mechanical engineering. They've all been in all California schools. So California is the only state that I know. Honestly, it's the best state. If it weren't for the high cost of living here, it would be perfect, but you know, can't have everything, right? And my research interests, you know, a lot of them involve applying engineering applications to study biomedical problems like blood disease. Okay. Right. So just so you know who I am. Oh, and you know, feel free to call me whatever. And so, you know, I know some of you have had me before, but you know, I'm not that particular in terms of what you call me. So just call me whatever you feel most comfortable with. I think most people call me Professor Tran, Dr. Tran, that's fine with me. But you can call me Justin, you call me Dr. Justin, Professor Justin. You call me Dick Face if you want, that's fine. You know, I grew up in the era of online gaming, so I'm no stranger to having, you know, strangers on the internet call me all kind of obscene things because I misplayed a small thing, but so you know, it doesn't harm. Call me whatever you feel most comfortable. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about optimization. So what is optimization? So I think when someone says that you want to optimize something, you know, I think intuitively you kind of understand, right? So in general, if you look up the word optimization in the dictionary, it means to make something better, right? And so when you optimize something, generally you make something better. Okay. But when you talk about optimization in kind of an engineering context, or when you talk about it in, you know, more of an applied math context, it has kind of a more specific definition. Okay. And so optimization, you know, the way I define it is the process of obtaining the best possible performance from a system through computing the best possible values of the design variables. Okay. And the key word there is design variables. Right. And so what I mean by design variables is that these are parameters of the physical system. And this can be almost anything. So it could be like the height, the width, the length, if you're talking about geometry. If you're talking about things like material properties, it could be like, you know, Young's modulus, the density. You could even go things like, you know, the cost of materials, you know, whatever. Okay. These are, you know, design variables are basically any parameters that are going to influence the performance of the system. Okay. And by performance, what I mean by things that you can actually measure in terms of, you know, seeing how a system performs, right? And so those could be things like power, efficiency, strength, cost, etc. Right? All of the kind of measurements. Okay? And whenever you have a complex engineering system, there's always a relationship between, you know, what the design variables are and what the performance ultimately is. Okay. And optimization is the process of, you know, how do we find the best value of those parameters to maximize the performance. Okay. The problem is, you know, and of course, in theory, that sounds great. The problem is, you know, actually choosing the best values of those design parameters can be very challenging. In fact, you know, it can be almost impossible to do by hand because a lot of them are interconnected. Right? I'll give you a very simple example. And so, you know, for this part that we have here, right? Generally speaking, you know, we expect the strength of this part to go up when we add more material, right? And so if we have more material in a structure, generally that's strong, right? But, you know, and generally we want to optimize for the strength, right? We want to have a strong structure so we don't have to worry about it breaking. But the more material we add to the structure, you know, its cost is going to go up because it's going to cost more to produce. It's going to cost more to, you know, to do, cost more material to actually make it. And the weight is going to go up too, which is usually not a good thing, right? And so oftentimes you have kind of competing, I call these kind of competing objectives. And so how do you weigh one over the other? You know, a lot of times it's not easy. And what optimization allows you to do is it allows you to take kind of very complex objectives and kind of complex systems with a lot of design variables and find the best possible solution. Okay. Okay. So that was a very kind of I would say kind of a abstract way of describing it. So I think a better way to kind of show you how it works is to kind of show you an example. Okay. And so let's say that we're in charge of designing this bridge right here, right? And this bridge, we have several goals. And so first of all, we have to make sure the bridge is long enough to cover the gap, right? The bridge is no good if it falls into the river. Okay. Second of all, we have to make sure the bridge is strong enough. And so when we have cars run over this bridge, or when we have winds that get applied to it, or we have, maybe a fat bird or something sit on the bridge, we need to know that it's not going to collapse. Okay. And another goal that we often have is we want to minimize the cost of production. Okay. Because, in an ideal world, we'd make every bridge out of vibranium or something, right? And so that would be invincible, but, that would also be very expensive. Okay? So this is a very typical kind of engineering situation where you have kind of multiple goals, and, some of these are often competing. Okay. All right, so now it's time to think of, what are the design parameters, or what are the things that we can actually change about this bridge that actually affect its performance, right? Well, one parameter that we may have is the thickness of the beams, right? So we may choose to have a much thicker beam. Okay. Of course, having a thicker beam will make it stronger, but it will also make it more expensive and more heavy as well. Okay. We may think about modifying the radius of curvature, right? So we may have a bridge that has a bigger arch or a smaller arch. Okay. We may think of the angle that we have here for the trusses. Okay. We may choose to alter the number of trusses, and so that's kind of a geometrical parameter. And we may also have freedom in terms of how we select the material and the cross-sectional area of the beam as well. Okay. And so all of these are design parameters, right? And so in this case, I just gave you 5. And so we have thickness, we have radius of curvature, we have angle here, we have material and cross-sectional area or shape. Okay, so we have 5 parameters. And what an optimization problem will do is that it'll take these parameters, find the best value for these 5, and to make sure that we achieve all of our design goals right here. Okay. In the end, what you're going to get, is something like this. Okay. It's of course I'm skipping a lot of steps, but ultimately this is kind of the goal. So you have a very complicated problem with a lot of variables and a lot of competing objectives, and optimization kind of gives you the framework, or it kind of gives you the methodology to solve a problem like this. Okay. You can almost think of optimization as kind of a decision-making protocol. And so it kind of helps you make decisions on kind of very tough parts of engineering. Okay. All right, any questions on this so far? Okay, so let's go over a few more examples. So, not so much in depth, but just kind of talking about it, right? So the aerospace industry uses optimization a lot because we're talking about, very complicated geometries, very complicated structures, with a lot of competing interests as well, right? And so if you look at kind of the shape of the hull of an aircraft like this, you'll probably know that there are a lot of different curvatures. There's a lot of different kind of interesting shapes on there. Okay, and so of course those weren't developed by random. The exact angles, the exact lengths, the exact areas of each aspect of that airplane, probably at some point ran through an optimization procedure to optimize or to maybe reduce the amount of drag that's on the airplane, but also reduce the cost and maximize the safety. Okay? So aerospace engineering, I would say, is probably one of the most the biggest customers of optimization. We have the thermal sciences as well, and so here we have kind of a water heating system. Okay, and so a water heating system like this has a lot of variables that are in play, and so in terms of how much power do you input into it, what kind of insulation do you want to put into it. The length of the tubing, the diameter of the tubing, lots of different variables, and making sure you choose all of these in an optimal way. Oftentimes you need optimization to do just that. Okay. We have automotive, and so here we have kind of the chassis of a vehicle here, and so you can see there are a ton of variables here. So we have the length and the size of all the different beams, and again, we can use optimization to choose all of these variables. We have engines. Engines are, again, a very complex beast. And so lots of different variables, lots of different things that we can optimize over. And we have circuits as well, right? And so circuits are, again, another system with a lot of different variables, a lot of different things that you have to select, And if you look at a circuit like this, and if I told you that you have to select the values of all, I don't know how many there are, all like 20 resistors in there, to maximize the performance of the system, that's kind of a daunting task, right? Kind of a task that, you kind of hear about in your previous classes, but you think like, oh, that's, a computer will figure that out, right? Well, this is the part where we actually figure it out, right? This is where optimization comes. Another area that I personally use it for is in biomedical design. And so what you see here is a picture of an artificial heart valve. Okay, and so an artificial heart valve like this has lots of different parameters, in terms of how you manufacture it. Okay, and you can choose those parameters using optimization. And finally, the last example that I'll give you is not something that's engineering related, but something that's more related to business. And so actually, if you look up, optimization courses, you'll see that there's actually quite a few in finance and economics, right? And so, you'll find a lot of theory in there because, markets and advertising and supply chain, this also involves a ton of different variables. And how you select it is, or how you select those variables to, optimize, the economic efficiency is, you can use optimization for that as well. Okay, so that was just a very, very quick overview, and I'm sure there's still kind of a lot to be learned, but what I hope you guys gain from this is that optimization is very versatile. It can be applied to a lot of different problems. It's just that setting up the problems to be an optimization problem can be difficult, but that's kind of what we're going to do with this class. Okay. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. By the way, I might seem a little sleepy today because I just came back from Europe on Sunday, so I am jet lagged as hell right now. But so if I appear sleepy or if I miss a hand, I apologize. Just yell at me. That'll okay. Okay. So now that we've kind of discussed what optimization is, let's define a bit about an optimization problem. Okay. Because in order to actually use optimization, you kind of have to take your physical engineering or non-engineering problem and formulate it in a way that an optimization algorithm can actually do. Okay. And so, we're going to define over, in the lecture on Thursday, we're going to define things like objective function. We're going to give more, definitions on things like design variables, things like that. Okay. And generally, the idea of an optimization problem is that, once you're given this objective function, what you want to find is the maximum or minimum of that objective function. Okay. And so what you see in this image right here is that you have kind of a two-dimensional objective function, and so you have a function of two variables. Okay. And ultimately, what we want to find is we want to find where this point is right here. Okay. We want to find the minimum of that function. Okay. And so generally the idea with optimization problem is that you take your complex engineering problem, you come up with an objective function, which is a function that kind of rates the performance of the system, and then you try to maximize or minimize that function according to your design. Okay? Which I know sounds all like gibberish right now, but we'll go over kind of a bit more on Thursday. And so a good analogy that I like to have, when I think about optimization is that it's almost kind of like treasure hunt. Right? And so if you kind of watch a lot of the old movies with like Indiana Jones and things like that, and so oftentimes, you're often looking for treasure using like a map and kind of some esoteric clues, like, look for the third tree with a branch missing on its left side, right? And so optimization can feel like that sometimes. So you have these kind of very complicated functions, and you're trying to find where the treasure is on that function. Right? And we use kind of esoteric, kind of weird kind of methods to actually do it. So. And so, I hope that's kind of one analogy that you kind of keep as we go through the class, that, optimization is kind of like, looking for treasure. Okay. And so let's go over the course concept or the course topics. Okay. And so here we kind of I have a roadmap for the course. Okay. And so we're at the first point right here, which is the course introduction. And so from there, we'll go over what I call classical methods. Then we'll go through topics like linear programming, nonlinear programming, and then, at the end of the course, we'll talk about more practical considerations in terms of how we, applying this to more complex real engineering problems. Okay? And of course, these can be expanded. And so, there are a lot of subtopics within these topics, which, a lot of these, will make no sense right now, but they will as we go through. Okay. But I show this, not that you need to memorize this right now, just to show you that I do have a plan for the class. I'm not just up here doing random shit every day, right? But I do things in a certain order to kind of help you with this. Okay. And with this class, it's even more important because, I will say, I will pause here and kind of say that, in terms of difficulty, and I never say this I've never said this before in any of my classes, but I would say out of all the classes I've taught, this is probably going to be one of the most difficult classes that I've taught. And that's not an exaggeration. So, the math that's involved in this class and the programming that's going to be involved, we're going to be doing a lot of MATLAB programming, I think is probably going to be more difficult than a lot of courses. And I say that not to scare you, even though, I know, someone already told me today that, yeah, I'm scared now, but I want you guys to kind of have realistic expectations for the class. So, although honestly, for me, I'm really hyped for this class because I love optimization. I think it's super cool, but it is really difficult. And so, I want you guys to have kind of that expectation going in. But, once you do master optimization and once you do, understand it, honestly, sometimes you feel like a god. It's just, getting to that point is very difficult. And so, the powers of God are not given to any mortal. It takes a lot of work to get. So, I did want to say that kind of right now, just to kind of give you a heads up that, it is a hard class, and I usually don't say that before my classes, but, I do want to say that in this. It's not an easy, but, I will say that, if you do master it, if you do get good at it, it's a very good skill to have. It's a very, very good, concept to it. Okay. All right. Any questions on this before we go into the syllabus? Okay. All right. So let's talk about the syllabus. So let's talk about some of the course policies. Okay. And so let's start with office hours. And so again, my office is not here anymore, or it will be there eventually. But for now, it's in CS 526. Okay. So that's the 5th floor of this building right here. And my office hour times are the following. So on Tuesdays, I have office hours in the morning. So that's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Those are the only days where office hours are going to be virtual only. And so if you go to the course website, there are Zoom links for all the office hours. And so on Tuesday, you can only attend them on Zoom, unless you somehow find the address of my house and drive to my house, which I hope none of you will figure out, because then I probably have to move. But otherwise it's virtual. Okay. All right, Wednesdays it'll be in the evening. So Wednesdays will be from 5:30 to 6:30. I will be here for those ones, and so that will be both in person and virtual. And then I have office hours on Thursday as well. So Thursday mid-afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. Okay. And so I tried to plan these office hours so that they're at kind of different times of the day. So I have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. But at the same time, I know that these times may not work for everyone. And so if you can't make it to office hours and you want to meet outside of these, just let me know. I'm always open to meet outside of these hours. Just send me an email, and we can set up a time that works for both of us. Okay. So my other job here is I do advising, and so that does give me some flexibility in terms of my schedule. So, just let me know, and then we can find time. All right, so what are office hours for? So office hours are, mostly for, discussing points for the class, right? And so if you're either confused about a course, some of the course content, some of the homework questions, or the exam questions, office hours are a great time to come and ask these questions, okay? Especially for the homeworks, like I mentioned, this course is going to be hard, and so, if you're having trouble doing the homework problems, office hours are a great time to come and ask questions like that. Okay. Or if you just want to come by and say hi, then that's fine too. It'll brighten my day a little bit. Okay. And of course, I've already kind of implied this with the virtual option, but if you can't make it in person to the office hours, I will have the Zoom option available as well. And so you can join the office hours via Zoom. Okay, course level learning objectives. And so, not only do we have learning objectives for each day, but I have learning objectives for the entire course. And so, what I hope is that by the end of the course, you'll be able to do these 4 points here, okay? And so number one, you should be able to formulate engineering problems as optimization problems, okay? So taking a physical problem and turning it into a problem that an optimization algorithm can solve, okay? I want you to be able to identify the key features of an optimization problem and select the appropriate method to solve it effectively, okay? And so, a lot of this class, we're going to be learning different algorithms, okay? And so, I think that's one thing that's kind of interesting is that, the optimization problems itself are not going to change. We're just going to learn how to solve the same problem, probably 20, 25 different ways. And so, that's that. And so, and the reason we do that is that certain methods work better in certain situations. We'll go over that. Number three, I want you to be able to solve optimization problems. And so I want you to be able to solve some simple problems using manual calculations. But also for the more complicated problems, I want you to be able to write computer code to solve it for you. Okay? And so that's either going to be MATLAB. For most of you, I think it's going to be MATLAB, but then you can also use, Python or C++ or whatever programming language is most comfortable for you. Okay. And number four, once you do have an optimization result, I want you to be able to assess the validity and reliability of the result and make any kind of modifications to the methods to give you better outcomes. Okay? And so by the end of the class, you should be able to do these four things. Okay, homeworks and exams. And so what I have planned for the class is I have 7 homework assignments, 2 midterm exams, and 1 final project. Okay. And so a policy that I have for all my classes is that your lowest homework will be dropped. Okay. But I still want you to do them all, right? And so for the homeworks, you're not gonna believe me. You're probably, some of you may never believe me, but hopefully you believe me, 2 to 3 years down the line. But I don't give you things to do. I don't give you homework problems or exam problems or things like that. I don't give them to you to waste your time. Okay. Although people will still tell me this homework's a waste of time. This takes too long, right? And so I know you're not going to believe me, but I give you the homework problems to give you practice, for the course content, right? And I give you the exam problems to make sure that you're understanding the course content well. Okay. And so even though the lowest homework will be dropped, I still want you to do them all because you're not going to get the full experience of the course without doing them all. Okay. But at the same time, I know that lots of things happen during the semester. Life happens. Emergencies happen. So I want to give you some flexibility where, if you're not able to make a homework assignment, or, you're not able to finish a homework assignment completely, you have some flexibility in that it's not going to just wreck your grade. Okay. The midterm exams are not going to be cumulative. And so each of them are going to cover roughly about 5 to 6 weeks worth of content. Okay. And these are the dates that I have planned for the exams. And so it's going to be Thursday, October 5th, Thursday, November 16th. And there is no final exam, but there is a final project, and that's going to be due on Monday, December 18th. So that's going to be the Monday after finals. Okay. All right, any questions on this so far? Okay. All right, course grades. And so I think, I have a pretty standard breakdown here. And so for the letter grades, after all the grades for the semester are in, and depending on your final score, your final numerical value, this is how I assign the grades. Okay, so this is pretty standard. Okay. And in terms of the breakdown, I have the following. So, you'll notice, we have 2 midterm exams, and you can see that one midterm exam is going to be worth 30% of your grade. The other midterm exam is going to be worth 20%. Okay. And so the reason I have that is that, whichever exam that you score better, whether it be the first exam or the second exam, I'm going to assign that exam worth 30% of your points. And whichever exam that you don't do well in, I'm going to assign that 20% of okay. Because, I know it happens every semester that, the first exam comes around and, you're not really sure what to expect because it's the first exam and, and you don't do as well as you want, right? And so I want to give you, again, I want to give you the flexibility where, if you don't do well on the first exam or you don't do well on the second exam, it's not going to completely wreck your grade. So you have a chance to make it up. Or, maybe if you do really well in the first exam, then, that's 30% of your grade in the bag right there. So, the second exam is going to carry a little bit less. Okay. And so, again, this is to kind of give you some flexibility where, if feeling good, 1 week or so, you have an opportunity to make it up later in the semester. Okay. All right, textbook. So the textbook is not required for the course, and so I think now it's been about 10 years since I graduated from college, and yet even to this day, I have this kind of burning, passionate resentment towards the textbook industry because of how much money I had to give them as a student, and so that resentment has kind of like defined who I am as a person at this point. And so I've never required textbooks out of my classes. And so this is no different, right? And so you don't need to buy the textbook. And so I'm going to post all the lecture notes for the class. For all the homework assignments, I'm going to post the full problem statements. I make up all my homeworks, and so you don't need the textbook for that. And the lecture notes should be sufficient for you to learn from the class. Okay. But if you did want to pick up the textbook for some extra information, the one I'm using for this course is this one right here. So it's called Engineering Optimization Theory and Practice, 4th edition. By named Rao, forgot his first name, but he wrote a good textbook, and it was easy for me to find online, for price less than full. And so that's kind of the reason why I chose this textbook. Okay. And so I always tell people don't pay full price for textbooks. If you do want to use it, find a cheap version, or better use surf the high seas. So that's what I tell. All right, course website, Canvas. And so we're going to go over the Canvas site after this. And so you'll be able to see kind of all the content that I have there. But basically any content that I produce for the class, lecture notes, homework assignments, homework solutions, exam solutions, study guides, example codes, all of it's going to be on Canvas, right? And so as long as if you can navigate around the Canvas site, you'll have access to basically everything I'm producing for this class. I'm not hiding anything. Okay. Also, all the announcements will be made through Canvas as well, and so definitely keep an eye on those as well. Okay. Any announcements that I make through Canvas should be emailed to you, but if you want to kind of see summary of that, you can see it on Canvas as well. Okay. One thing I also do for all my classes is that I create a Discord server for the class, and so this is something I started during the pandemic, just because we didn't have a physical classroom like this, and so it was very difficult to kind of interact with your classmates. Okay. And so I created the Discord server to kind of give you guys a space to kind of organize study groups, ask questions, debug code, things like that. Okay. And so I wanted to keep that practice just because I know some people find it useful every semester. Okay. I'll try to be active on the Discord server, but it's not going to be my first priority. And so the Discord server really just is a space for you guys. Okay. But that said, if you do have a question that no one's able to solve, you can tag me, and I will come and answer. Okay. All right. And so an important note, and so I am on Discord. I am on Discord. For a lot of the day, and so you can direct message me on Discord. But I do ask that you save this for emergencies. So what happened in previous semesters was that some students kind of abuse this. And they kind of sent me, lots of messages over Discord, and at the waking hours of the night at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, expecting an answer, or sometimes sending me inappropriate messages over Discord too. And so, I would ask that, if you are going to message me directly on Discord, please, make sure it's an emergency that needs my immediate attention. Otherwise, I would prefer that you email me, or if it's a question related to, maybe a homework question, post it on the Discord server and see if someone else can help you. And then, I'll try to get to it when I can. Okay. But save direct messages, only for emergencies. Okay. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. All right. Other course policies. And so homeworks, I do accept late homeworks. And so if you don't make the deadline, you can turn the homework late. But I do have to penalize it. And so for each day that the homework is late after the deadline, I take off 10% of the points. Okay. And so what you'll notice on Canvas is that for all the homework assignments, I leave it open up to a week after the deadline. And so you can still turn it in, but I will dock the points based on this policy. Okay. And if for some reason you're not able to access the Canvas assignment, you can also scan and email it to me as well. Okay. But I only accept late homeworks a week after it's due. So don't send me homework 1, on week 16 of the semester. Okay. All right. Regrades. And so I do regrades, and so I'm human too. So I make mistakes when I grade. Okay. And so if you want me to look at something again, whether it be a homework assignment or an exam, definitely don't be afraid to ask. But I do ask that you do this in a timely manner. So, and so a week after I grade something or a week after I return something to you, that's your deadline in terms of, when you can ask for a regrade. Okay. And the reason I do this is that, when I grade things, I try my best, it doesn't happen all the time just because I get busy, but, I do try to leave comments and I do try to leave feedback for you guys in terms of, what I think you can do better for the assignments. And so I want you guys to be reading that. So, but the thing with feedback is that if you don't use it right away, it becomes less useful, right? And so, as an example, my mom recently told me that, I wish you were more social with your aunts growing up. I'm like, thanks, Mom. I'm 32 freaking years old right now. Like, you should have told me that when I was 12. Okay. And so, feedback is only useful, if you can still use it in the moment. Okay. And so I want you to be using that feedback, at that time. So, please read it promptly. And if I make a mistake, then, All right, emails. And so if you're emailing me, please include the course name and the email. So please include EGME 454, just so that I know, what you're emailing me about. And so I'm teaching 2 other courses, as well as doing advising, as well as, all the other emails that this college sends for no reason. And so, if you send me EGME 454 or put it in the subject line, then I know, I have to read this email. It's not one of the dozen spam emails that the university sends. Okay? Tighten, fund, delete, and so if you do that, it helps me respond faster. And so, generally I'm pretty good with emails. And so I'll try to get back to you. Usually I get back to you within 24 hours, but if not 48 hours. All right, question in the chat. All right, questions. If you want us to plan for the final project from week 1 of the semester, or do you like to cover some part of the syllabus first? Yeah. So the final project, we'll go over later in the semester. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to go over it right now just because we haven't learned any of the content. But definitely, by the middle of the semester, you should know what the final project is, and you can start preparing. Right now, it's not really going to make a lot of sense. So, I'll give it to you middle of the semester and you can work. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. All right, graduate credit. And so I know that there are a few graduate students taking the course. And so if you are a graduate student, university policy does say that, you do have to complete an extra assignment, okay? In order for it to count, because technically this is 400 level, so it's an undergraduate level course, okay? I haven't decided what that extra assignment is going to be just yet, but once I do, I will let you know, okay? If you are an undergraduate student, and so if you are an undergraduate student and you want to get graduate credit for this, then please let me know as soon as possible, because there is a form that we need to sign in order for that to, okay. I don't know, usually there's not too many, but if you are an undergraduate student taking it for grad credit, then let me know as soon as possible. Okay. If you're a graduate student taking it for graduate credit, you don't have to let me know. I know already, and there's no form to sign. But it's only if you're an undergrad taking it for grad. All right, question. So is the final project group work or is it individual work? It is going to be an individual project. Right now it's an individual project, but I may change my mind, later in the semester. But right now it's a plan for individual. Okay, academic dishonesty. So, I don't like to talk about this, but you have to say, I have to say it, but academic dishonesty is not going to be tolerated in this course, okay? And so if you commit academic dishonesty, and academic dishonesty can, the definition for that is ever expanding in the technological world that we live in, okay? And so that could be things, as simple as, copying the solutions from someone, either during the exam or one of the homework assignments. It could also mean, posting the homework assignments or posting the project online, and having someone else solve it for you. It can mean paying someone else to do it for you. I know AI is becoming a thing now, and so having AI write your report or having AI, write your code for you, all of these things count, as academic dishonesty, right? And so if you do these things, then at the very least, it's going to result in a 0 for that assignment. And if it's on something major like an exam or the project, then it can result in up to an F in the course, as well as referral for student. Okay, so it's a very strict policy, and it's, not one to take lightly. And, and the reason we have this is that, ultimately, you guys are in this class, you guys are getting a degree here, to learn skills, right? If this were just a thing, if I were your boss at a company and just I needed shit done and I needed you to get it done, in some ways, I don't really care how you get it done, right? Because it's for the financial benefit of the company, right? But a classroom is something different, right? So a classroom, you're here to actually learn something, and you don't really learn unless you're directly engaging with material and actually learning, right? And at the end of the day, if you cheat or you commit academic dishonesty, it takes away from that. And so, we have these kind of strict policies to make sure that everyone's engaging with it. Okay. And so, it's a very strict policy, but I say this every semester that, if you ever feel like, you're struggling in the course, or you feel like you're not going to be able to catch up, or you're going to bomb the exam, or you can't do the homework, or or anything like that. Okay. I really ask, I really ask that you come talk to me first, right? My job here is not to criticize you, it's not to judge you, it's not to kind of, laugh at you or do anything like that. Ultimately, what I believe my job is here is to help you guys succeed, to help you learn these skills, which are going to help you in your career, right? But I can't do that if you don't come talk, right? And so if you don't come talk to me, you commit academic dishonesty, at that point, I can't really do anything, because, we have university policies that, that define what we have to do. Okay, but if you come to me, you say that, I'm struggling, I really need help, I don't think I can do this assignment, I don't think I can do well in this exam. I promise you, I'll do everything I can to help you succeed. Right? That's what I'm here for, right? So I'm here to teach you, I'm here to help you succeed. Okay. And so, I would always ask that, please give me a chance first, before you resort to anything else. Okay. Okay. And so we're almost at the end of the introductory slides. And so the last thing I want to go over is just the first homework assignment, or I always call it homework 0. And that's just to send me an email. Okay. And so, at the beginning of every course, even if you've had me before, even if I know your name, even if I said hi to you earlier today, I still want you to send me an email, right? And so, I know quite a few of you I had last semester, but it was a long summer. A lot of things happened this past summer, I'm sure. And you're probably not the same person, not exactly as you were, 4 months ago, right? And so, I would love to have an update on right? And if you've never had me as an instructor before, this is a great chance to introduce yourself. So, I always try my best, to learn all my students and to get to know them, and especially for an elective like this, I have a lot of freedom in terms of, how we can steer the course. So, the more I learn about you guys and what you want to get out of the course and what you want to learn and kind of your goals in life and your career, that helps me kind of design the course and kind of steer the course in a way that's kind of most helpful for you. Okay. So send me an email. You can write as much or as little as you want. I've had people just write me emails that say, hi, please give me credit. And I'm like, okay, here's your credit. And that's it, right? But, it's always a lot nicer when you write more, okay? And so to kind of help guide you, I have these 4 questions here. You don't have to answer the questions, but, I have them there to kind of, help, in case you are struggling to figure out what to talk about, okay? And so you can talk about, the kind of career that you like to have after graduating, maybe what you're looking forward to the most in this course. If you have any worries or concerns for the course, you can talk about that there. And just, what are just your interests and hobbies, okay? And so the due date for this first homework is this Sunday, August 27th. And so if you get it to me before 11:59 p.m. this Sunday, then you will get full credit, okay? And so, I think it's also a nice way that, everyone starts out with an A in the course, which is always a nice thing, okay? And don't forget to include EGME 454, just so it's easy for me to give you the. All right, any questions on this? Anything that covered the slide? Yes.
So it seems like the course is pretty the course is very heavily like MATLAB code.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna have examples throughout the course to where we can recycle code for kind of our code and
absolutely
piece together code?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time this summer developing this course. And so, I made sure that, for every example that we did in class that requires MATLAB, there is an example. So I think I have almost 20 example codes that they're on Canvas right now. I can show you right now. And then we'll probably write more throughout the semester. And we're going to have, I think, midway through the semester, we're going to have a week-long MATLAB review too. And so I know that, a lot of people are coming in, not the highest confidence in MATLAB. That's usually the number one concern I get, not for this class, but some of my other classes as well. So we'll definitely do an extensive MATLAB review. And there'll be a lot of examples and a lot of kind of in-class kind of activities to kind of,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not throwing you out to the wolves. We're definitely going to be reviewing a lot in the class, but it is going to be a lot of code.
And then for our final project, are we able to not recycle the coded the MATLAB examples, but can we format our code? Yes, and I don't know, and pull from those.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So for the final project, I'm basically going to be giving you kind of a realistic, kind of complicated optimization problem. And actually, what I hope that you would do, and kind of the goal for the final project is to actually use a few different methods. So you'll be able to use kind of the codes, I mean, not directly, of course, but you're going to modify those codes to basically suit the final project. So there's going to be about 4 to 5 different methods that you can. So absolutely, you can reuse a lot of these. Yeah, assignments for the project for. Any other questions about the course before we go to the websites? Okay, all right. So let's take a look at the course websites. So let me go to student view so you can see that. Okay. And so if you're enrolled in the course, you should have access to the Canvas site. If you're on the wait list, I think I sent out a couple invites, but if you're on the wait list and you don't have access, you can send me an email and I'll give you access to the Canvas site. Okay. But here is a tour. And so again, if you've had me for an instructor before, the format should look very similar. But I'll give you a tour again, just because it was a long time. Okay. All right, so on the homepage, you'll see that we have the name of the course here. So EGME 454, optimization of engineering design. Okay, I have a little blurb here. So you can click on my name, picture that was from like 5 years ago. Okay. Gained a lot more weight since then. Okay, course learning objectives. So we went over this in the slides. You can find the PDF version of the syllabus. So we basically went over everything in the syllabus, but if you want to see it, again, there's the PDF version for it here. Okay. All the Zoom links, and so if you want to attend the lecture over Zoom, you would click on this link here. I have the links for all the different office hours, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday office hours. Okay. If you want to join the Discord server, you can click on this link here. Okay. Oh, by the way, the Discord server, it is optional, and so it's not a requirement, but if you do want to join it, then not. Okay, but the main thing I want to show you on the homepage of the course website here is at the bottom, which is the course outline. And so what you can see here is kind of a week by week breakdown in terms of all the content for the course. Okay? And so we're on week 1. And so what's going to happen throughout the course is that, all of these links are going to become clickable, and you'll be able to click them and see what's up. And so I usually prepare these pages about a week in advance or on the Friday before. And so by this Friday evening, you should be able to click on week 2. All right, questions. So do I upload this lecture on the YouTube channel as well? Yes. Yeah, so all the lectures are recorded, and so they're recorded on Zoom, and I post them on YouTube, so you can view them. Okay, and so if you click on week 1, you can see here that I've written kind of a short summary of week 1, kind of what we're going to learn for the course for this week. I have the learning objectives of the week here. Okay. And for the lecture recordings, once I post them on YouTube, you'll be able to click on this to go to YouTube and view the lecture. Okay. So right now it's grayed out because we're still kind of live streaming and the recording's not ready. But by either this evening or tomorrow morning, you should be able to click this and watch the lecture for that day. And so, if you weren't able to make it to lecture, or if you want to view certain parts of the lecture again, the recordings will be available. Okay, and so on the weekly pages, you'll also be able to view all the different assignments. Right now, there are 2 assignments that are active, and so there's homework 0, which is the introduction email. We just talked about that. Okay, and I have homework 1 posted as well. Okay? And so, I prepared this about a month ago because, you know, I was actually on vacation the last 2 weeks, and so I wanted to make sure it was up beforehand. And so you can look at this homework assignment. It will make 0 sense, and so you will not be able to do anything on this homework assignment yet. But in case you were curious and you wanted to look, you can see that over the next 2 weeks, you'll be able to learn the things that you need. Okay. And then all the lecture notes for the week will be posted here as well. And so the slides that I just went over, you know, you'll be able to see them here. And the lecture notes for Thursday, you'll be able to download and see them. And so before you do anything, I would always recommend that you check the weekly page for that week. And I organize it this way just because, you know, let's say that you missed, you know, a certain lecture for the week, you know, you could easily go to the page for that week and view that lecture. Right? If you want to download the notes for that week, or if you want to look at the learning objectives for the week, you know, I organize it by week just because, you know, I think that's, you know, chronologically, I think that makes the most sense. Okay, but I always recommend that you go to the weekly pages, you know, before you do anything else. You can. Okay, any questions on this so far? Okay. All right, so next, excuse me, we have the announcements tab. And so again, you know, all the announcements are sent to you via email, but if you accidentally delete the email, you know, thought my email address was spam, you know, no offense taken, you know, I delete stuff all the time. You can find all the different announcements here. And so the only thing I have so far is just the welcome message with the link to the course website. Okay. We have the assignments tab here, and so you can see a summary of all of the assignments. Okay. One thing to note is that you'll notice that there are 2 dates here, right? And so there's the due date. Okay. So that's when the assignment is actually due. And then you'll see another date here, which is the availability date. Okay. And so what you'll notice is that the availability date is usually a week after the due date. Okay. And so if you remember from earlier today, you know, I mentioned that I accept late homeworks up to a week after they're due. Okay. And so I leave the assignment available a week after it's due so that you can still turn it in. Okay. But this does not mean that it's due on September 12th. Okay. It's due on September 5th. So if you want to get full credit for the assignment, you need to submit it by September 5th. Okay. But if you submit it late, you have up until September 12th. Okay. So that's a difference between those 2 dates. Okay. You know, so because I think every semester, you know, I think someone gets confused and they think that it's due on the 12th, but you know, it's actually due. Okay. All right. Next, we have the grades tab, and so we have you know, a breakdown of all the grades. And so as soon as I grade stuff and I enter it into the grade book, you can see it here. Okay. And then based on the number of points that you have, you'll see kind of a computation of your overall grade. This is a typo right now, so homework should be not 20%, it should be 10%. So I'll fix that after the class, okay? Because this makes no sense. It should be 100. It should be 100%, not 110%. Okay. And so, you know, and so if you're ever curious in terms of, you know, where you are in the class, or if you want to see the grade for a particular assignment, you can do that. All right, next tab is the people tab. And so if you were curious about who else is in the class, you can check here. Okay. And then lastly, we have the files tab. And so this is basically kind of like the Dropbox folder for the class. And so basically any content that I produce, anything that I post will be here. Okay. All of the relevant content will be posted on the weekly pages. And so, you know, if you kind of keep up with the class on a regular basis, you probably never have to come here. But if you miss a certain week, or if you need to download a certain file, you're looking for a particular example code or a particular lecture note, you know, you can find everything here. Okay. And so you can see here that I have a folder for the lecture notes, and you can see here that I prepared 9 sets of lecture notes already. Okay. You can see all the different code examples. Okay. So here's all the codes. Okay. So those are all the example codes that I've written for the class so far. You know, we'll probably do more throughout the class, but you know, those are the ones that you can see. And then we have other things. I don't know if you can see this. I guess you can. So that's the image of the course, and any homework assignments will be here as well. Okay. And then once I start, posting homework solutions, exam solutions, they'll go here as well. Okay. All right, and so that is about it. And so I did want to make sure I tore the course website just so you kind of know where everything is. Okay. Any last minute questions? If you are on the wait list for the course, I would say kind of sit tight. And so I will say that I was a little bit surprised in terms of the amount of people who are interested in the course, which is great. Optimization is awesome, but I didn't expect to have this many students in the class. So before the semester began, my expectation was to have around 40 students in the class, and we may end up there. So right now, officially, there are 35 seats, and so if you're in the class, you're one of the 35 that are in the class. And from there, I was expecting to accept around up to 5 people from the waitlist. But if the interest is strong and you guys really want to go through with this, then I'll think about accepting more. Right? I won't make a decision on the waitlist until the end of the week. And so I would say sit tight until then. But if you're top 5 on the waitlist, I'd say that you're going to be in the class. And if you're number 6, 7, 8, I'd say you probably still have a pretty good chance of getting it. Okay. All right, any final questions before we wrap it up for today? Yeah.
How many semesters have you taught this course?
0. It's my first time.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a trial, and so and so I'll say this, and so I know I kind of probably scared everyone in the class when I said this class is really hard, but I'm not an evil person, right? Despite what you may believe. Okay. And so I'm going to be paying very close attention to the class as we go through it. So I spent a lot of time this summer kind of preparing the course and preparing things in a way that hopefully will be good. But at the same time, my ears are open, my eyes are going to be open, and so if I see things are not going the way I planned, we're gonna pivot. We're gonna go a different direction. That's gonna make things better. So I'm not when I say the class is hard, my plan is not to fail everyone in this class. That's never my plan. But optimization is a hard topic, and there's a very good reason why not a lot of engineering programs offer a class like this, because it's hard. And honestly, even though it's 400 level, if I had my choice, I would say this is more of a 500 level class. It's honestly, for a lot of other colleges here, a lot of other colleges that offer this course, it's a graduate level course. But that wasn't my choice. This course was already in the catalog. It was actually about to be deprecated, and so I didn't want to see it deprecated because I think optimization is really cool, and so I'm teaching this course. I designed it completely from scratch myself, but I am paying close attention. So if I see things are more difficult, or things are not going the way I want, then we'll make adjustments. Sure. All right, question in the chat. Okay, let's talk after the class about 410. So 410 is my next class. Okay, all right. So I'll stick around for a bit longer if you have any other questions. So we ended about today, but if not, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I would say stay safe from the hurricane, but the sun is out right now, so I don't think the hurricane's coming back. So hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I will see you all on Thursday. You? Oh yeah, so let me give you the Zoom link to yeah, so that should be it, Bob. Hey. You? Oh, you should. Great. Yeah. So do you have a form for the?
My advisor was telling me about it. I gotta go get it out.
Okay. Send me an email. I have the form on my computer. So just send me an email. I'll send you the form. And then just fill it out and I'll sign it. Yeah. Hey Simon, how's it going? Good, good. Yeah. Yeah, so
You in?
so 410, there's a lot of people in the So originally, so the situation right now is that there's 35 students in that class. They're all full, and I think there's about 65 there. So originally, I had planned to take about 50 students to 410, which I thought was already going to be a lot, but it seems like it might be more than that. But if it's like 52, 53, I'm okay with that. I don't want to have
We're
55.
not gonna graduate.
And so what position are you on the wait list? Okay, you should be good. So I did find at least 50 students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then.
Okay.
We're 10.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, if you're 13 on the wait list,
I
so on
think-
Friday, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look and see how many people are on the wait list. So this is the way I do it. So if you make it to the end of the first week,
Yeah.
scare you away and you're still on the wait list, then I tell the admin, increase, so there's 15 people on the wait list. I increase the space in the class. So you'll be in the class by now.
It'll just be 8.
Automatic, yeah, you won't have to.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I need. I
No.
don't want to know what
Yeah.
I think it's similar. It's on the wait list for this.
Okay, yeah, if you're number 2, that should be fine. So for this class, I did plan for at least 40. And so if you're number 2 on the wait list, then you'd be number 37. So yeah, you should.
I really liked it. I just.
It's just keep coming to class and then, if you're nervous, you can send me an email Thursday night. But Friday morning is usually when I look at the wait list. I send the email to the.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good, good summer.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. We listed, just wondering, we would get.
If you send me an email, I can give you access right now. I mean, I know who you are, but it's just, I need to remind myself because there's a lot of students that speak. So send me an email, I can give you access to the campus site. And then Friday morning is when, you'll probably be officially. Yeah, that's what I said, the email.
And.
What we should touch on.
Yeah, so, oh, yeah.
Honestly, Saturday.
Is there any MATLAB lab? So we'll be doing MATLAB activities in the class. And so, it'll be kind of integrated with this. But there are no, there's no MATLAB specific projects. So they'll be they'll be integrated in the lectures and they'll be integrated in the homework assignments as well. Yeah. Although honestly, we're not going to do MATLAB until probably the second half of the course. And so in the first half, we're going to be building up kind of the theory and kind of the methodology and doing mostly the calculations. And then we'll really get into the MATLAB heavy stuff. Kind of,
He's pretty good.
I
heard, well, like.
Yeah, end of the second half of this.
Hey, guys, I don't feel like.
That's why I don't introduce the project at the second. We don't really get into the MATLAB stuff. It's second.
Yeah, no, it's my first time. He's cool. I had 3 times now. Yeah, you're pretty good for it, especially for like fluids and stuff. Yeah.
All right, any final questions before I close this up?
What I think is for this next class, it ends at 5:45 or 6:45.
Question, so the final project for this course can be as intensive as before 541. It's gonna be very similar. So I will be asking you my code for this final project.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I've been about to say.
541 was difficult because I had you write one really big code. My plan for this class is to have you write kind of 4 or 5 smaller codes. So the exact amount of coding will probably be about the same. It's just, it'll be split up among a few different.
The only reason I wanted to drop campus is because I only have class on Tuesday, Thursday. So it's not like.
I think it'll be a little bit easier just because we'll have a lot more practice. I think 541 was difficult because we didn't have that much practice with the finite element codes. But my gut intuition is that this one's gonna be a little bit easier just because we're gonna be doing a lot of exercise and practice in class. But again, it's gonna be my first year, so I don't know exactly how it's
Yeah, I think it's $10.
Yeah.
So since I'm enrolled, the other class.
No, you know what, it was actually.
Yes, you do. Yeah, so you can't be, so even if you're on the wait list on Friday,
I know.
if you're still enrolled in both classes, the system won't add you to 410. So you will need to drop that.
I just don't have.
Right. Yeah.
For sure, 13.
Yeah,
You drive
yeah,
motorcycle?
yeah. So make sure you're 13th and you drop it.
My friend does. Hey, yeah. Yes, Friday.
This Friday.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been like dirt bikes and stuff, but. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, any last questions from Zoom?
My friend has something like this.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna close the call. I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Friday.